Campus rule. No leaving the dormitory today. Violators will die. At 12 past midnight, the school's PA system began to blare that rule on a loop. At first we thought it was a prank. After all, it was April Fool's Day. Someone in the next room screamed, flung open their dorm door, and hollered about who was up in the middle of the night using April Fools to scare people. But soon, a loud crash came from downstairs, and blood splattered everywhere, pouring across the floor. At that moment, I was at the window, watching everything happening below. The neighboring dorms all lit their lights. I didn't find this April Fool's prank amusing at all. I was still cursing along with the others. April Fool's Day shouldn't be played like this. I'm a very traditional person. I've always scoffed at those ill-omened remarks. I don't know who forgot to lock the door and let someone slip into the school's broadcast room. But reality soon dealt me a heavy blow. With a loud bang from downstairs, bodies lay tangled like a ragged carpet beneath the streetlights, and a thick stench of blood hung across the campus. Their faces were grotesque, their pupils blown huge, as if they'd seen something they shouldn't have. I stood at the window and watched, helpless, as a person fell past me. The dripping water in the bathroom sounded deafening in that moment. I held my breath, not even daring to look back. In an instant, countless bodies fell from the upper floors. They all seemed to have come from the top floor. Did they all go up there together to commit suicide? No, this is completely impossible. The scene was utterly bizarre, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Waves of wails and astonishment echoed through the campus. What on earth is happening? I stared at everything before me in disbelief. I couldn't bring myself to trust my eyes. Is this really the price of my sleepless nights? Can I swear right now never to stay up late again, to keep this almost real hallucination away from me? It doesn't look like a prank. A ghostly voice behind me sounded, made all the more terrifying by the drip of water in the bathroom. Because I'd stayed up late, I didn't turn on the light when I got up, so when the sickly green glow lit up behind me, I jumped in fright. Amy, do you have to be so scary? Amy, true to her name, was terrifying, especially because she made no sound at all when she walked. Amy curled her lip. You're the one who's too timid, okay? I pretended to be angry and punched Amy. She clutched her chest, feigning pain. Hey, what are you two doing? The light's out. I'll go find the dorm supervisor and get it fixed. The two of us looked out the window at the same time. Every light had gone dark. The sound of the dormitory door opening came from behind. We all shouted toward the doorway. Don't go out. Winnie slept like the dead. She could sleep through an earthquake and maybe still not wake up. She certainly didn't know anything about what had just happened. Most importantly, it had been announced over the broadcast. Today's rule: anyone who leaves the dormitory will die. Amy and I hurried over as fast as we could, grabbed Winnie just as she was about to step out, and slammed the dorm door shut. Seeing Winnie was still fine, we finally breathed a sigh of relief. What are you doing? Move aside. I'll go find the dorm supervisor to fix the electricity. Winnie was clearly not fully awake yet. Her mind was still fuzzy. Why fix the electricity in the middle of the night? Doesn't the dorm supervisor, Annie, ever sleep? Amy immediately tapped her on the head, and she snapped back to her senses. Amy, why did you hit me? Winnie rubbed her head, staring into the pitch black before her. Why didn't you turn on the light? Amy rolled her eyes in the dark, then explained to her everything that had just happened. Oh, huh. Call the police. Winnie finally came completely to her senses. Startled, she slapped the bed frame hard, waking the others around her. This dorm room housed 4 people and was fairly spacious. The one who had been asleep was a model student who kept early hours. She always slept with earplugs, afraid that I, who stayed up late playing games, might disturb her. The voice from a moment ago had already woken her. She threw back the curtain, stuck her head out, and said impatiently, Confucius didn't talk about ghosts, gods, or strange powers. She glanced over toward where I was, then added, Don't tell ghost stories in the middle of the night, especially you, Amy. How could you be telling ghost stories with Sarah? After saying that, she flopped back down and went back to sleep. We exchanged looks. It was clear to all of us now. Hannah had known everything that had happened. She just thought we were telling ghost stories. Most likely she'd go to bed early again and be up at dawn, arriving at the dining hall at 6 on the dot to begin a full day of study. By then, none of us would have woken up yet. For Hannah's safety, Amy walked over and tapped the underside of her bunk. "Hannah, you must have heard the announcement on the PA, right? It's just past midnight. Today you have to stay in the dorm and not go out. For safety's sake, you should sleep in tomorrow." Hannah turned over and said helplessly, "Amy, you're going bad. I know tomorrow is April Fool's Day. I'm not interested in these little pranks. Go to sleep. I'm planning to go to the library tomorrow." Hannah said no more and went back to sleep. Amy came over and looked at the two of us. Call the police first. Even though we still didn't know what was going on, calling the police would surely be the better option. Before the emergency line picked up, our hearts were all racing. But what none of us expected was that when the call did connect, we were met with nothing but a burst of busy signal. Could it be that so many people call the police that the lines are all busy? Amy's speculation, for some inexplicable reason, sounded somewhat plausible. At that moment, the school's confession wall exploded. Many people had captured terrifying, eerie photos. Countless students stood on the rooftop in rigid unison, their expressions grotesque, as if a single slip of the foot would send them plummeting to the ground. Bodies were strewn in chaotic rows outside every dormitory building. Blood flowed everywhere. The network was still up, so we hurriedly sent a message to our class group. "Did you see it? Everything on the confession wall." Immediately, someone responded. "Can any of you get through to the police?" The confession wall updated again. "Someone is already calling the police now. Please don't tie up the line." We all felt a wave of panic. Is the reason the calls aren't going through really just because the lines are busy? But we still held onto a sliver of hope that one might get through. We sat around together, waiting for the confession wall to update with a new post. Soon the new post plunged us into despair. We can't go out, we can't get through to the police, and every other way of contacting the outside world is met with a busy signal. Only people from this school can reach one another. Now, this school has lost contact with the outside world. We're going to be trapped here until we die. Amy stared at the post on her phone. In other words, we can now contact everyone on campus, but we can't reach anyone outside. Some unseen hand is forcing something to die here in terror. This isn't pessimism. It's the fact we have to face now. I took out my phone and sent a message to the class monitor. He replied to me, "Don't be afraid. We'll think of a way." Just as I was about to message someone off campus, all I got was a blank white screen. In fact, every one of our phones was just a white screen. By now, it was already 2:30 a.m., and Wendy let out a yawn. "I'll show you how to fall asleep in 1 second." Then she fell down and fell asleep. I looked at Hannah's bed. She was sleeping soundly now. Hannah won't go out first thing in the morning, will she? I was a little worried about her. That habit of hers, unchanged through wind and rain, could very well cost her life now. "Tie them up," Amy said solemnly. Me? Why wouldn't that count as a good idea? Amy and I found some clotheslines and quietly climbed onto Hannah's bed, tying her up. "What are you doing?" Hannah was awakened, glaring at the two of us with fury. "Go back to sleep. We'll untie you first thing in the morning." Hannah rolled her eyes hard. "I've told you, I'm not taking part in any of your pranks. Every year on April Fool's Day, we have prank activities." Hannah thought they were a waste of time and never joined them. But now she had no choice. "I tied it tight. You won't break free. Just sleep peacefully. I'll untie it first thing in the morning." Amy patted the back of Hannah's hand and agreed. "Sleep, my dear. You'll thank me when you wake up tomorrow morning." Hannah struggled a few times, found she couldn't break free, then turned over and tried to fall asleep in a position that would make herself as comfortable as possible. "You'd better untie me before 6 in the morning." To make sure I would wake up and be able to watch over these people tomorrow morning, I spent the whole night sleeping next to Amy. Time passed quickly, minute by minute, second by second. After a few hours, dawn arrived. At 6 in the morning, the voice on the intercom sounded once again. "Please note, the campus rules are as follows. Rule 1. Every night after midnight, a new rule will be announced. The old rule is automatically nullified. Rule 2. The school will be locked down for 7 days. Do not try to find a way out, or you will die. Rule 3. Do not resist the rules, or you will die. This was nothing short of a naked threat. The noisy chatter rose again as Amy patted my shoulder. Sarah, wake up. I jolted upright from bed, instinctively glancing toward Hannah's bunk. Our four-person dorms had the upper bed, lower desk arrangement. Hannah happened to be on the bunk directly opposite me. At that moment, the dormitory door made an ill-timed creak. Don't go out. In a panic, I grabbed the blanket on the bed and hurled it at Hannah. Then Amy and I quickly climbed down from the bed together. Luckily, my bunk was the one nearest the dormitory door. Hannah was a little angry. She grabbed the blanket and flung it onto my bed. I already said I won't take part in any of your messy activities. Amy tried to persuade her. You heard the broadcast just now, right? Going out means death. At first, Amy didn't want to believe this bizarre thing either, but when she saw those corpses, she had no choice but to believe. Amy opened her phone and showed her what was posted on the confession wall. Only a few hours ago, the bodies of those rule breakers had been lying downstairs. When those faces smeared with blood and flesh reflected before Hannah, she wavered a little, but only a little. Who didn't know it was April Fool's Day today? The confession wall post could just as well be a prank. Send me a message, and then I'll send a message to anyone you want off campus. Hannah still didn't believe it, so Amy placed the phone in front of her. The phone lit up. It was a message from Hannah. When Hannah sent a message to her brother off campus, there was only a blank screen. This must be a network issue. Hannah still stared at the phone screen in puzzled disbelief. That blank screen confirmed what they had been saying. She sent messages to several people in succession, but each time the result was the same: blank screens. Bang! Bodies fell from the building outside the window, one after another. Not surprisingly, they were all like Hannah, people who always woke up very early. Amy dragged her over and stood at the window. Come on, open your eyes and look properly. Is this a prank? What met their eyes were corpses strewn every which way. Because it was morning and the sky was already light, they could see everything downstairs clearly. That blood and flesh blur, like some wraith, was right beneath the dormitory building. Hannah was utterly terrified. She scrambled back into bed, pulled the covers over herself, tossed and turned, and no matter what she did, she couldn't fall asleep. By contrast, I, who believed these things, seemed much calmer. So, to be precise, we still have to stay here for 7 more days before we can leave. And the most important point is whether we can survive within the rules. I have a feeling this first rule was only the appetizer. The real danger is still waiting for us. Since we can't go out all day, let's bring some things out to eat. Amy took out 2 packs of instant noodles and prepared to get water to soak them. Fortunately, we usually like to bring back some snacks to eat, so we wouldn't starve to death just from staying here a day. There's no water. When Amy took the instant noodle bowl out, there wasn't a drop of hot water left in the dispenser. I looked toward the dormitory door. I always felt that behind every rule there was something coaxing us to go outside, coaxing us toward death. For example, no water. The school's hot water dispenser boils by electricity. Last night it coaxed Winnie out, and this morning it coaxed Hannah out. So will it be me and Amy next? Amy put the instant noodle bowl down, took out some bread, and placed 2 pieces on Hannah's bedside. Then she went and brought a carton of milk for her. Eat this for now. Once this rule expires tomorrow, we can go out and buy something to eat. I nodded. For now, this was the only thing we could do. After a light meal, we want to catch up on sleep. We'd been shaken the night before and hadn't slept well at all. Now things were calmer, and we could finally rest properly. Today's rule had been relatively merciful. At midnight, a new rule would appear, and we had to make sure we were awake then to hear what it would be. Full and satisfied, we went to sleep. During summer break, I work in a factory, so sleeping straight through until evening isn't a problem. I woke from a long sleep. It was already afternoon. When I got up, Hannah was sitting at the table, reading a book while writing something. Hannah, you're up early. I got out of bed and handed Hannah a carton of milk. Today you'll have to make do with this. Hannah looked up at me. I didn't sleep at all. Even if the world ends, I won't forget to study. I drew in a sharp breath. She really was a diligent, studious girl. After lunch, I went back to sleep again. When a midnight bell tolled, the whole school erupted. It's time. At that moment, the dorm lights came on, and the entire campus was ablaze with light. Everyone was excited, holding their breath, pricking up their ears, listening intently as the school's PA system crackled to life. Today's rule: no one is allowed to sleep, otherwise death. When I heard today's rule, I breathed a sigh of relief. Good, I'd slept all day. Pulling an all-nighter is nothing for me. That's a small thing. This rule seems aimed at me. Hannah turned her head. There was a thick notebook beside her. She had written in it all day out of fear. She believed what had happened yesterday and had been on edge the entire day. To suppress that fear inside her, she read all day and wrote all day. But the new rule was to forbid sleeping. Then you've got a whole day stuck with us. I'll show you something exciting. I solemnly patted Hannah on the shoulder. When he heard the voices and came over, I feel like this rule is aimed at me too. I want to see something exciting as well. Winnie was the kind of person who could sleep for 24 hours straight. That rule was practically a curse to her. Amy still appeared very calm. The rules yesterday and today are both aimed at people like you two. One studious and diligent, the other lazy as a pig. Amy rubbed her chin and went on to analyze the rule at length. Both rules over the past 2 days targeted people with opposite personalities. So what will tomorrow's rule be? Don't overthink it. Come watch something exciting. I'm about to fall asleep. Winnie was already rubbing her hands together, eager and ready. Weren't you just waking up? Winnie took out her phone. When the screen lit up, it showed 10 past midnight. I haven't slept for 10 minutes. Me. I quickly grabbed my tablet, put it on Hannah's desk, and then launched the tense, thrilling Animal World. These past 2 days' rules were as simple to me as drinking water. Staying up late was my basic way of life. I can stay up for 24 hours straight. Still pretty thrilling. Hannah nodded in agreement, eyes glued to the screen. Winnie licked the corner of her mouth. I just wonder if braised lion's head meatballs taste good. Winnie's words snapped me back to reality. When dawn comes, we'll go to the cafeteria and buy things. Try to get as much water as possible. Otherwise, we won't know how to deal with the next rules. What if it's the same as the first day? What would we do then? Amy nodded and brought out a very large laundry basket. As soon as dawn breaks, we're going out to buy supplies. She looked utterly determined. After watching an episode of Animal World, we still felt a bit unsatisfied. How about we watch something else, something more thrilling? Hannah asked, when he slid her stool over and offered her suggestion. Then let's watch A Bite of China. Very thrilling, very tempting. We switched videos back and forth and watched for a long time. When I was bored, I went to play games. The games could be played, but I couldn't send a single message, couldn't send voice, and in fact, every way of contacting the outside world had no effect at all. Thinking of that, I hurled my phone down again and began cursing loudly. What kind of shitty rule is this? Damn it. Are they out of their minds? Asterisk, 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 asterisk. After gaming all night, I finally made it to the early hours. At midnight, the bell let out a piercing scream. The school's public address system spoke again. Today's rule: you must arrive at class within the specified time. Latecomers die. It's already the 3rd day. When I heard the news, I breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, this rule isn't hard for me. I've set my alarm for tomorrow. Now it's done. I can finally sleep soundly. Everyone in the dorm quickly fell into bed and slept. Winnie even kicked off her shoes and fell asleep at once. The class monitor sent a message in the class group chat. All, remember it? Early birds of Class 8, don't be late tomorrow, and don't just time your arrival. Better set an alarm and get up a little earlier. This is a matter of life and death, brothers. A few night owls sent a couple of replies. The rest didn't post another message. If the rules from the past 2 days were meant to deal with those who love studying, then this rule was meant to deal with those who didn't. The next morning, just as the alarm had sounded, we were already up. The taut nerves relaxed at that moment. Hannah hadn't slept all night, yet she still seemed so energetic. Hannah, why are you up so early again? Hannah shoved several bags into our hands. The textbooks have all been packed for you. Hurry up and go. Buy something in the cafeteria, then head to class. Hannah had timed it perfectly. By the time we reached the cafeteria, it was already packed with people, and a long line had formed at the snack counter. Damn, How did they get here so early? Seeing the scene before us, the four of us were stunned. If we could think of hoarding food, they should have been able to think of it too. Squeeze in, Hannah said. The three of us left were stunned. Those words didn't sound like something Hannah could have said. Under Hannah's lead, we hurriedly grabbed some food and drinks and went to the cashier to pay. Although the people behind us had many complaints, to save time, they could only bite their tongues and hold back their anger. Carrying big and small bags, we went to class. In a life-or-death situation like this, everyone is selfish. If you're not a little selfish, you'll die here, Hannah said. I wholeheartedly agreed with that sentiment. After all, in an apocalypse you have to kill the do-gooder first, don't you? Amy and Winnie nodded in agreement. That day we all went to class obediently. The campus was strewn in every direction with corpses exuding a foul stench. When the bell rang for the 8 a.m. class, a group of people at the gate let out grotesque cries and twisted their bodies a full 180 degrees. They finally collapsed to the ground in agony. A hysterical scream came from inside the classroom. Amy, everyone pay attention in class. Those who don't follow the rules will die, understood? The teacher tapped the blackboard and began the lesson calmly. I cautiously approached Amy. Are the teachers bound by the rules the same way we are? I had a thought. Maybe the teachers' rules aren't the same as ours? They probably are, but their rules should be different from ours. Hannah joined the group chat. Did you notice? They didn't have any expression. Even after just now seeing the rule breaker die right in front of them, he showed no expression. At least the other students had screamed in terror. Only he kept teaching earnestly. I guess today's rule is to teach seriously, Hannah said. These rules aimed at students and at teachers were changing every day. If the student's rule was to attend class, then the teacher's rule was to teach. This damned rule was toying with everyone. A dull, monotonous day passed. The campus had already become a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. There were fewer and fewer people left in the school. The owner of the confession wall changed again and again. Every day was spent calculating how many people remained. Some people, frayed to the breaking point, snapped and fought at random. So many could no longer bear such intense torment. Thank goodness, today is already safe. Now we just wait for midnight to announce the new rule. The school cafeteria had run out of food. Luckily, we had bought a lot today, packing big and small bags enough to last us for many days. Hannah took out a loaf and nibbled at it bite by bite. Only when the food slid into our mouths did the fear begin to fade. They don't just want us to die because of the rules. My gaze fixed on the doorway. A series of heavy thuds came from the corridor as someone slammed on the door. Bang, bang, bang. It seemed they had run out of food, and the cafeteria wasn't serving meals today. The cafeteria ladies must have a rule they have to follow too. Scared to death, starved to death, beaten to death. Every conceivable way to die. It's like someone wants to torture us to death in here. Each rule was different, but each rule constrained every person. If Hannah hadn't dragged us to the dining hall, we'd probably be the ones shouting at the door right now. Shut the door first, Hannah said. Then we moved everything we could push over to the door and jammed it shut. Fear took root and sprouted in everyone's heart. Every night forced upon us felt unbearably long. I stared at my phone, watching the time tick away second by second. Each second that passed was another measure of terror for us. The ticking numbers tugged at anxious hearts. After midnight, the broadcast sounded once more. Today's rule. Everyone must reach 30,000 steps of movement, otherwise death. This rule treated every single person equally. It was already the fourth day. The rules of these 4 days were neither too simple nor too difficult. This notification seemed aimed at punishing everyone who lived the same three-point circuit every day. Dormitory, cafeteria, classroom. Today was Thursday. There was only one more day until the holiday. We checked the time. Don't tell me they'll forbid us from going out during the holiday? I said, if such a rule really existed, would it be a loosened version or a stricter one compared to the first rule? That was something worth pondering. Still, think about how to scrape together 30,000 steps. 30,000 steps, it's enough to kill someone, especially for those who haven't eaten. They're already so starved their ribs press against their backs, and they still have to walk 30,000 steps. That's more cruel than just telling them to kill themselves. Tomorrow we'll run laps around the playground. I'm going to sleep. Winnie fell asleep immediately. The world is vast, but sleeping is the greatest thing. Only by sleeping can one restore one's energy. It seemed today's rule didn't restrict having classes in the academic building. Of course, if we went to class in the classroom, we probably wouldn't reach 30,000 steps. So after a long, heated discussion, we decided not to go to class. We slept straight through until broad daylight, fully rested. None of our phones had emitted an untimely sound. Early in the morning, when the sun rose on the horizon, what we saw was not hope. The terrified screams outside the door grew fainter and were punctuated by a bout of violent banging. This isn't right. This is all wrong. I feel like today's rule is also meant to trap us in here, Hannah said, because it's very dangerous outside now. She looked at the things we had gathered. There was still a lot left, enough to keep us fed for several days. But the dormitory is too small, and it limits what we can do. Whether we could manage 30,000 steps in a single day was another question. On normal weekends when we went out hiking or sightseeing, our step count barely topped 20,000. 30,000 steps would be downright deadly. Amy's gaze was fixed on the doorway, because last night we rearranged the dorm, moving everything that could block the door to the entrance. Now the only space left for us to move in is half the room, plus that tiny patch on the balcony. Today's rule looks like an advanced version of the first rule. Don't worry about that for now. Let's run for a whole morning first, I said. We all took out our phones and opened the WeChat step counter. We strapped our phones to our legs, then lined up in order around that tiny patch of space and started running, counting our steps as we went. We all stopped when each of us had counted to 1,000 steps. This discrepancy is huge, Amy cried, staring at the WeChat step counter flickering on her phone. We had clearly run 1,000 steps, but the phone showed only 500. Exactly half. If this were to reach 30,000 steps, we have to be running from dawn till dusk and still might not make it. To be on the safe side, let's run 60,000 steps today. After weighing everything, we made the decision within a minute. Never step on the mark. But if your timing is way off, what then? We exchanged glances, then quickly adjusted our positions, synchronized our breathing, and resumed running. This time, to conserve energy, we didn't count. We just kept running and kept running. When one person grew exhausted, another would drag her up and keep running. By the time the morning passed and sunlight streamed through the dorm window, the few of us were already too exhausted to move. I don't think this is working. We might just wear ourselves to death here. Isn't there an easier way? When he slumped to the floor, utterly still. She clearly didn't want to run anymore. She couldn't if she tried. She picked up her phone and saw she had only run a little over 10,000 steps so far, still more than half left to go. Is it possible that because our place is so small, our strides are short, and that's why there's such a big discrepancy in our step counts? I voiced my thought. Hannah's expression darkened. If that's really the case, wouldn't that be forcing us to go out and get ourselves killed? The pounding on the doors of the entrance rose and fell and never stopped all day. Some people watched the 10,000 steps and even began to give up, waiting for death to come. There were others who no longer wanted to live and try to pull someone else down with them. When life and death are at stake, human nature always fails the test. In truth, each rule is forcing us toward our deaths. I looked out the window, despair, endless despair, filling my eyes. I didn't know what manner of death tomorrow would bring, nor did I know whether we could hold on. I steadied my breath and stood up. My legs were trembling uncontrollably. Through the peephole, I saw bodies strewn across the doorway. These people hadn't died because of the rules, and yet they had all died because of the rules. Usually we sit whenever we can, never stand if we can sit, and lie down if we can't sit. This morning alone, I already walked more than 10,000 steps. I'm utterly exhausted. Those who strictly follow the rules should be like us. Suddenly, a bloodied eyeball pressed against the peephole of the dorm door, making me jump and slump to the floor in a daze. Sarah, I was accidentally cut, and blood trickled down my thigh into the soles of my feet. At that moment, I felt a fear like never before. My scalp tingled. I suddenly wanted to cry so badly, to cry, to leave this place. A sting in my nose, and tears streamed down my cheeks. I'm fine. You keep running. Make sure you hit your step count. We have to make it to the end together. These rules were mountains we could not cross, but the hope of staying alive had never been extinguished. I have the habit of always carrying some medicine. I took out hydrogen peroxide to disinfect it, then sprinkled some antiseptic powder and wrapped up the wound. That counted as healed. The rest of the time was yet more long, continuous running. By the time it reached noon, 12 o'clock, we could barely take a break. By now our step count had reached 18,000. After a short rest, after eating a piece of bread and drinking a carton of milk, we sat briefly, then began running again. Sarah, can you still keep going? Amy asked, worried. I nodded. Then another group of people began running endlessly again, running and running, running until dusk fell, until the sun returned to the horizon. The step count on our phones finally reached 25,000 steps. There were only 5,000 steps left, and it was still several hours before midnight. Let's rest a bit, eat something. We've still got hours to go. I refuse to believe we can't finish a mere 5,000 steps, Hannah said, breathless from exhaustion. She glanced at the half-empty bottle of water on the table and swallowed. To conserve supplies, we hadn't drunk all the water in one go. Who knew what other strange rules might appear in the remaining time? If they were going to keep us trapped here, we had to make sure we had enough water. After a simple meal and a short rest, there were 3 hours left until midnight. 3 hours were more than enough time for us to walk those 5,000 steps. It was 11:30, and the step count on my phone finally reached 32,000. To be safe, we ran a few thousand more steps. Now, at last we were secure. Having completed the task, the few of us sat on the ground and looked at each other, smiling. The fear evaporated in that moment, replaced by the joy of having survived another day. If we all make it out alive, we must see every river and mountain, Hannah said. Then I have to taste every delicacy in the world to make up for running around all day. I feel like I've almost lost a circle of weight, Wendy said. All right, then we'll eat, drink, and be merry. Do the most carefree things in the world, I said. Amy looked at me approvingly. Then I'm still going to my idol's concert, no matter the hardships, no matter what happens. Even if my hair is on fire, I'm going. After half an hour of rest, the clock struck midnight on the dot. My gaze happened to be directed out the window. Scattered corpses fell like dumplings, accompanied by piercing screams. Today there were many people who hadn't finished the task. Fear swept us up. The school's confession wall exploded at that moment. What's wrong? We clearly ran over 30,000 steps, so why does our phone only show a little over 10,000? Those who trusted themselves ran over 30,000 steps. Those who trusted the phone ran over 60,000 steps. Predictably, only the people who had run 60,000 steps survived. So there was an additional hidden rule embedded in that rule. I didn't know whether to feel glad or to feel sad. There was even a message sent at 11:59. Comrades, I really can't make 30,000 steps by everyone. Attached was a screenshot of WeChat showing over 29,000 steps already walked. So close, just so close. We almost made it. Today's rule: everyone must jump off the rooftop. Violators die. When we heard that rule, the few of us just froze. Isn't this skipping the whole performance? This rule looked extremely difficult, but in fact wasn't simple at all. The previous rules, the dead all jumped in groups from the rooftop, so today's rule was asking us to do the same. Gather in a group, jump from the rooftop, become one of them? No. How is that any different from just telling us to kill ourselves? Amy slammed the floor hard. It was the 5th day, corresponding to the 5th rule. Does the person who makes the rules get a day off too? We're all dead anyway. There won't be any new rules tomorrow, right? Then I'd better eat up all the good food quickly, fill up, and sleep until tomorrow morning, Wendy yawned. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die stuffed. She said that as she opened a bag of bread and 2 packs of chips and began to eat. No, the rule only told us to jump off the roof. It didn't say how we were supposed to jump, Hannah said. He grabbed the hand of Wendy, who was just about to finish everything. Then what? Strike a pose. Wendy blinked, deftly shoveling a few chips in her mouth. If I'm going to die, I want to die looking good. I'm going to put on some makeup first. Amy stood up. There was nothing wrong with what Amy said, so I followed suit and stood to take out the pretty dress I didn't often like to wear. Wait, Hannah means we still have a chance to survive. The hand holding the dress froze in place. There is nothing in the rule about how we jump. If we jump down with parachutes, we'll survive, I said. Hannah nodded. That's exactly what I meant. When he stopped mid-chip, then glanced at the empty bag of chips she had just finished. Crap, I already ate a whole bag. Wah, wah, wah. Hannah clamped a hand over her mouth. Little mouth. She shut up. Using a parachute is clearly not a very good idea, Hannah said. There's a big difference between a professional parachute and one we cobble together ourselves. A single mistake could make us just another body lying on the ground because of our parachute. We have to make absolutely sure we're prepared. Tonight will be another brutal fight. It looks like we won't be getting any sleep. Why not unite? Amy asked. After she made that suggestion, we all fell into silence. Human nature can never withstand a true test, and we can't be sure the people across from us are really good. A school is just a microcosm of society. In society, there are all kinds of people, good people, and bad people masquerading as good. Just as we hesitated, a post appeared on the campus confession wall. Can anyone band together? Let's rush out, find some crash mats, and put them underneath, then we can jump off the roof. Neither the academic buildings nor the dormitories were tall. From the ground up, it was at most 10 meters. A 10-meter drop. If something could cushion the fall, we might have a chance of surviving. Soon someone replied in the comment section. I'm on building 1, 3rd floor. There are 3 of us in our dorm right now, and we have a life preserver. Each dorm has 4 people. It seems they are missing one. I can too. I have quilts, very thick, several of them. There were many comments like this, and for once we were united. Hannah glanced at me. The 4 of us looked at one another, nodded, and finally replied to the post. There are 4 of us. We can contribute blankets and sheets. We can lay quilts on the floor, turn sheets into makeshift parachutes for a softer landing. With both hands guaranteed, we can still survive. As long as we all stand united, today's rule cannot kill us. This rule is, one could say, a complete test of human nature. Life and death often rest on a single thought. We have to prepare for both possibilities, Hannah said. She wasn't sure whether, even with everyone's eyes open, there might still be a masked ghost hiding among them. So we needed a contingency that would guarantee our survival. Fully armed to avoid friendly fire, I said. Then we set to work, bringing out everything heavy and sturdy we could find and refashioning it into armor that could protect us. Following every instruction posted on the confession wall, we gathered up all the blankets we could carry. Unity was the key to surviving. We can't let the rules control us like this forever. We agreed on a specific time and place to take out everything that could be carried, then return to the dorms as fast as possible. The task of going out to fetch padding was left to the toughest person, because no one could guarantee that the weaker ones wouldn't encounter something ghostly. Leading the way were a few burly boys from the athletics department. Through the dormitory window, looking down, a few people were scattered there using the life rings and quilts we had brought. They had fashioned those things into a makeshift life pad. With the remaining time, we tore the sheets apart, twisted them into ropes, turning them into a cord stout enough to bear a person's weight. Then we made 4 such cords in the same way. With everything ready, we hurried up the rooftop as fast as we could, because no one could guarantee that arriving late wouldn't mean encountering danger. There was still an advantage to going early. When we climbed onto the roof, quite a few people were already fully geared up, preparing to jump. Some, like us, had brought ropes and were tying them to the rooftop railings. It seemed everyone had come to the same conclusion. For now, everyone was safe, preparing to tie their ropes to the rooftop railing. Hannah, watch out! Amy kicked away the person behind Hannah, who was holding a knife. Coach Edward. We stared at the middle-aged man in horror. He was Coach Edward of the athletics department. So the teacher's rule is to stop students from going down from the roof. Hannah keenly perceived their rule. I can't do anything about it either, Coach Edward said. Then he walked toward Hannah holding the knife. "Hannah, hold the rope. Leave the rest to us," I said quickly. Hannah took my suggestion in a second, then tied the rope to the rooftop railing. Coach Edward was strong. One person alone couldn't restrain him. Amy, the others, and I formed a circle around Coach Edward, determined to subdue him before Hannah finished securing the rope. At the very least, we couldn't let him sabotage things. So today's rule is essentially a trap. Either suicide or be killed by someone else. There's no other way. This was nothing short of a massacre. With all the remaining people gathered on the rooftop, perhaps the person who drew up the rules was watching this merciless slaughter unfold. Everything was a game we were performing for them. I believe that if it's a game, there must be loopholes. "Coach Edward, what are your rules?" I asked. Coach Edward froze noticeably, then set down the knife he had been holding. His eyes were wide, as if he'd seen something horrific. "In this game, no one wins. There are only those who live a little longer," Coach Edward said. He set the knife down and stared straight ahead. "If you want to stay alive, then go now," he said. After that spectacle, the number of people gathered on the rooftop kept growing. Students, teachers, and even the maintenance staff. Now we can be certain that people with different identities are bound by different rules. So how on earth are we supposed to survive? What will the next rules be? I didn't dare to think about it, but our primary goal now was survival. I immediately grabbed Amy and Wendy's hands and ran toward Hannah, then quickly tied the rope around himself and jumped down onto the rescue mat that had already been laid out below. With the rope cushioning the fall and our full protective gear, we only felt a bout of dizzy disorientation and intense pain in our limbs, but fortunately we were still breathing. Immediately afterward, everyone fell like dumplings dropped into boiling water, tumbling down from above. "Run!" Everyone wanted to live. Everyone was scrambling, falling off the rooftop in a mad rush. Those who didn't jump away naturally became the cushioning meat. They were smashed until blood flowed. So yesterday's rule was about wearing us out. Today's rule was about large-scale slaughter. Behind every rule was someone who wanted to watch us die here. Since the task was finished, we all breathed a sigh of relief. We hurriedly ran toward the cafeteria to see if we could find anything to eat or drink or anything useful. Hannah thought of the cafeteria first. She pulled several large bags out from beneath her heavy armor. "Sure, not bad for you." Amy took the bag she handed over, then ran to the cafeteria at top speed. We were among the first wave to jump, so by comparison we held the advantage of getting a head start. Bloody, really bloody. All the way toward the cafeteria, there were people falling one after another, jumping down from up above. Blood spattered onto Lao Gao. The metallic tang of blood and the stench of rot hung heavy throughout the campus. As expected, the cafeteria still wasn't serving any meals today. The entire dining hall was completely empty. It seemed everyone's rule today was focused on the rooftop, either to kill oneself or to stop someone else from doing it. We found a few pieces of bread tucked in a corner that no one else had noticed, and only then did we finally go back. "Amy, be careful." We were carrying those bags of bread back. Some survivors had already gotten up, and some had simply not gone up to the rooftop as the rule demanded. In this slaughter, as long as one managed to survive until the end, there was a chance to live. They were all smart people, intending to watch the others slaughter each other and then quietly reap the spoils. And we were the natural targets. At that moment, they were like huge monsters, brandishing knives as they charged toward us. Amy didn't react in time. They grabbed at her clothes and tore them open. A stiletto knife plunged into her shoulder. Instantly, she writhed and clawed in pain. "Hand over the stuff." It looked like they'd come for the food. "Throw it to them," Hannah whispered. Then the two of us gripped the bag with all our strength and, with a hard swing, sent all the food flying out. "Hurry and chase them. If you don't catch up and someone else snatches it, that'll be bad," Hannah shouted at them. Then they hurriedly put down their knives and ran off to chase the food. Taking advantage of the gap, we ran forward as if our lives depended on it, not stopping until we reached the dormitory. We came to a halt and drew a deep breath, but after only 2 inhales we heard the sound of hurried footsteps in the hallway behind us. "Hurry, block the door." The few of us put every ounce of strength into barring the door. Only then did I calm down enough to tend to Amy's wound. They were really brutal in how they attacked. They seemed to want to kill every one of us inside. It took us an enormous effort to block up the dormitory door. No one outside could get in, and likewise no one inside could get out. Only 2 days left. I wonder what the rules will be after that, Hannah said, sounding a little worried. Indeed, I didn't know what the rules would be after this, but we could all be sure of one thing. The rules to come would be even crueler than today's. Ugh, the feeling of waiting to die really sucks. Amy sighed. It's okay. If you eat more, you won't feel as bad. When he handed her a bag of chips. I bought tons of chips. I'll give you some. She already looked as if she'd accepted life and death. Besides, there are only 2 days left anyway. It's fine, eat. Maybe in 2 days, the only thing waiting for us will be a dead end. I sighed and lay down under the covers. I also think we should sleep well now, get our strength up, set our alarms, be ready to meet tomorrow's rule. The girls agreed with what I suggested. Then they set their alarms along with me and went to sleep. At noon, more classmates began to fall one after another from the rooftop. But nothing from the outside world could disturb us. We slept until afternoon, then woke to eat a little and drink a few mouthfuls of water. I gulped down the remaining half jar of water with all my might. Boy, that felt good. Like Wendy said, we're supposed to eat and drink our fill. If we have to die, we'll die well-fed. Like Wendy, I wore an expression that showed I had come to terms with life and death. During the waiting hours before midnight, I took out my phone again and started playing games. Hannah was constantly thinking about studying. At this moment, she opened her textbook and began to learn new material. If you're going to be a ghost, you can't be an illiterate one, she said. Makes sense, but I don't agree. After playing more than a dozen rounds of games and finding them utterly dull, I went back to eating chips with Wendy and watching shows. Amy was rewatching every concert of her idol and listening to all the songs. If life had only 2 days left, then we'd all choose to spend them doing the things we love. Everyone who had given up struggling was throwing a party. The night was filled not with screams, but with joyful singing. By the window came the rhythmic pulse from the playground, the electronic drums striking through the whole night, arriving with the chime of midnight. Today's rule: vote. Choose the group you think should die. Those who don't vote die. The group with the most votes dies. We looked at one another. This rule was nothing less than a decree to make everyone turn on each other. Consider it an advanced version of the previous rule. The previous rule still left some chance of survival, but this one did not. Are you kidding me? Hannah was the first to shout. Could it be that because too few people died under the last rule, they want to stage another massacre with this one? I said, it was obvious that such a possibility could not be ruled out. The school's confession wall instantly exploded. Everyone was fiercely debating who exactly that vote should be for. By group division, the students were the largest uncontested block, so the initiative for this rule lay in the students' hands. Do you remember Coach Edward? Hannah asked. We all nodded one after another. The previous rule put students' lives and deaths in the teacher's hands. This rule, however, did the exact opposite. So this was to give us a chance for revenge. So you know what I mean? Hannah asked as she spoke, looking at me. I nodded. I think I more or less understood what she meant. Whoever wrote these rules wanted to watch each group balance and counterbalance the others. One group would go hurt people, while another would be given the chance to retaliate. From the start, these rules never intended for us to survive, Hannah continued. Have you noticed? Over the past few days, the people active on the confession wall have been getting fewer and fewer. That meant more and more people were dying within the rules. We all nodded. The earlier rules were just an appetizer. The real show was only just beginning. In the school's broadcast room, at the very moment the rules were announced, we all had a voting app open on our phones. It was aimed at the various groups across campus. The groups with larger numbers had already discussed what they were going to vote for on the campus confession wall. Someone posted an image there showing the vote percentages after the poll. For those of us who hadn't voted yet, our phones showed a voting window. No matter how we swiped the phones, there was a voting system on the screen. Only after voting could we unlock the next page. So who are we voting for now? Hannah said. I didn't have an answer to that question either. The image on the confession wall showing vote percentages kept proliferating. Currently topping the list was the cafeteria lady who serves the food, because the aunties always have shaky hands. So should we vote for the aunties too? I asked. My gaze landed on Hannah's spot. She was the backbone of our team. Have you ever thought about one thing? If the cafeteria servers were gone, we'd have no food to eat, Amy said. I'd never thought about that, because we hadn't eaten in the cafeteria for several days. The cafeteria hadn't served meals these past few days. The purpose was to let the servers fade from people's sight. Make everyone think they simply don't matter. I plan to vote for myself, Amy said again. I can't bring myself to vote for someone else. Besides, I've already finished watching all my Idol's dramas. I've listened to all my Idol's songs too. The mood suddenly turned melancholic. The few of us looked at each other. She's right. If we can't vote for anyone else, then let's vote for ourselves. When we pressed the vote button again, we felt an unprecedented sense of relief, as if we had relaxed in an instant. It's so good, really good. I'm pressing her palm against the table, staring at the cardboard standee of her idol. No matter what the final result is, at least today will be good. In that moment, all the noise outside the door had nothing to do with us. We treated this as our last day and indulged in a small celebration. Don't say it. It's actually pretty good. We watched a good movie while nibbling on the snacks we'd been hoarding for days. A leisurely, carefree day passed. If nothing unexpected happened, then something unexpected did. The chime of midnight sounded together with the plop of dumplings dropping into boiling water. Today is already the last day. I wonder whether any of you want to keep living. 17. The broadcast came on punctually at 12. The few of us glanced at one another. A message appeared on the confession wall, right on time. Laughing to death. Who doesn't want to live? Isn't being alive good? We muted the TV. Amy listened to today's rule. Then, everyone doesn't have to do multiple choice questions today. Today it's true or false. For some reason, we all felt that the words had a half-smiling, half-mocking tone. Today's rule. There are no rules. Everyone, enjoy this final revelry to the fullest. The broadcast cut off abruptly, accompanied by roaring flames. We suddenly realized one thing. It seemed we were trapped here to die. Today is a very simple escape game. If we try to go outside, we might be beaten to death. If we stay inside, we will surely be burned alive. Laughable. Today we're united. Everyone can get out. The post on the confession wall popped up right on time. Thick, choking smoke was already drifting throughout the entire corridor. The corridor echoed with rapid footsteps and cries of pain. Can everyone form an orderly line? Don't cause a stampede. Someone in the crowd shouted hoarsely at the top of their lungs. Obviously, her words had absolutely no effect. Everyone was charging forward. Beneath their feet, the corpses already rotting, and behind them people were still in pursuit. They couldn't bother with the stench that filled the air at that moment. The fire was growing ever larger. Savage tongues of flame licked at every wall, and billowing, choking smoke drifted through the cracks into the dormitory. Get out quickly. When he clapped a hand over her nose, we hurriedly grabbed towels, dampened them, pressed them to our mouths, and kept prying at the door frame over and over. To stop anyone from coming in, we stuffed and sealed every gap we could with whatever we had. After a long while, we finally managed to pry the dormitory door open. The moment the door opened, a thick wave of flame surged toward us. I felt a dizzy blur wash over me. Oh no, it's over. When he cursed under her breath and collapsed to the ground. Through the flames, it seemed a legendary hero was striding toward us. But the moment I saw him, I had already closed my eyes. Is this heaven? I looked at what was before me. Everything around was pure white. It seems I did a good deed. After dying, I didn't go to hell, but went to heaven. I was still a bit excited. Classmate, are you rather pleased? A not very friendly male voice sounded in my ear, and a middle-aged man stood before me. Coach Edward. Coach Edward had also gone to heaven. He hadn't completed the rules task. You're here too. Coach Edward, we didn't do it on purpose. I hurriedly explained. Although I felt a little guilty, there was nothing we could do if we wanted to stay alive. Not on purpose? School rules said it 1,000 times. don't use electrical appliances against the rules. And now, the dorm caught fire, right? One by one. How many times do I have to tell you people? If it weren't for us teachers getting here quickly, you'd all have been burned to death in there. One after another, to stop the dorm supervisor from doing their rounds, they'd even blocked the doors. No matter how we knocked, we couldn't get them open. Me? What happened just now? I was a little stunned. There were 3 others who were just as stunned as I was. 4 heads turned in unison toward Coach Edward. What else happened? Did eating some poisonous mushrooms fry your brains? Coach Edward's tone was extremely unfriendly. Soon, we pieced together what had happened. The reason was that we had sneaked off campus to play on a mountain, where we picked some mushrooms and brought them back to eat. So the dorm supervisor wouldn't discover that our door was blocked. Because we had used a high-powered appliance in violation of the rules, it unsurprisingly caught fire. And of course, since our door was blocked, the search and rescue team couldn't get it open for ages. Then we were poisoned and sent to the hospital. It's so good to be alive. After lying in the hospital for half a month, we finally went home. I didn't expect eating poisonous mushrooms would even make us network together, Hannah said. A goody two-shoes like her got dragged into eating poisonous mushrooms with us. Damn it. I just mean we should learn our lesson and not eat everything, Amy said. Still, the cafeteria food tastes best. The first thing we did after returning to school was rush to the dining hall and have a proper meal. Today, the woman serving food was unusually steady. Her hands didn't tremble at all, and she piled our plates high with lots of fragrant meat. And my favorite sweet and sour crispy pork. After dinner, we strolled through the campus. All around us were murmurs and pointing fingers. The campus notice board bore a public reprimand about the few of us. And that very long school rule clearly stated, students are forbidden from going outside to pick and eat mushrooms themselves. We looked at each other and smiled.